Hello everyone, I am Ram from Frotela. In this video, we are going to learn everything you need to get started with SQL or SQL. First, I'm going to give you a small introduction to SQL, then we're going to install the necessary tools and write our first SQL query. This video is ideal for anyone who wants to learn SQL from scratch, but also anyone with some basic knowledge who wants to fill in the missing gaps. By the end of this video, you'll be able to retrieve, insert, update, and delete data in databases and. Now let's jump in and get started. Let's start with a quick overview of databases, what they are and how we use them. What is a database? A database is an organized collection of data, where the data is stored and accessed electronically from computer system. In order to manage our databases, we use a software application called Database Management System, or DBMS. We connect to a DBMS, and give it instructions for querying or modifying data. The DBMS will execute instructions and send results back. We have several database management systems out there, and these are classified into two categories, relational and non-relational, also called NoSQL. In relational databases, we store data in tables that are linked to each other using relationships. That's why we call these as databases relational databases. Each table stores data about a specific type of object. SQL or SQL is the language that we use to work with these relational database management systems. It looks like this. We use SQL to query or modify our data. In this course you're going to learn about this powerful language. Now, there are many different relational database management systems out there. Some of the most popular ones are MySQL, SQL Server by Microsoft, and Oracle. But of course, there are plenty more. Each database management system has a different flavor of SQL. But all these implementations are very similar and are based on the standard of SQL specification. So most of the SQL code that you will learn in this course will work with any database management system. In this course, we'll be using MySQL, which is the most popular open-source database in the world. Okay, now what about non-relational databases? In non-relational databases, we don't have tables or relationships. These databases are different from relational databases, but that's a topic for an entirely different course. There are many different NoSQL database management systems out there. Some of the most popular ones are MongoDB, DynamoDB. What you need to know is non-relational database systems don't understand SQL. They have their own query language. So, now it is clear that we use SQL to work with relational database management systems. Now, we jump in and install MySQL. I'm going to show you how to install MySQL on your computer. Now I'm using Windows. So I will show you how to install MySQL on a Windows. But if you're on a Mac or Linux system, make sure to check the description where I included links on where to install MySQL Server and MySQL Workbench, since it's much easier to do on Mac and Linux. So open up your browser and head over to mysql.com. Then, go to the downloads page. Now here, we're going to use MySQL Community Edition, which is absolutely free. So, let's go with this. Now, select MySQL Community Server, and then here you should see something like this, MySQL Installer for Windows. This is the recommended method for installing MySQL on Windows. So, click on this. On the next page, click on Download the first installer here. On the next page, click on No thanks, just start my download. Otherwise you have to create an account and log, which is unnecessary for this course. After successful download, run it. Click on Yes if it prompts. Alright, we're going to use this setup wizard to install MySQL on our computer. This is very easy. All you have to do is click Next, or execute whenever it is required. But there are a couple places where you need to enter a password. Enter a password when it is required. Keep all the other values as default. I am skipping this installation process as it takes a long time. After successful installation, open MySQL Workbench. And here is MySQL Workbench. Now the first time you open this page, by default you should see a connection here. If you don't see it, click on this plus icon. On this page, give this connection a name. Let's say local instance. Now leave all their settings to their default value. But here for the password, click on Store in Vault. And in this box, type the password that you used during installation. So, I'm going to put that here. OK. Now click on Test Connection. Alright, we successfully connected to the MySQL server on this computer. Alright, then, click on OK. Now we click on this connection to connect to our database server. Alright, this is the interface of MySQL Workbench. On the left-hand side we have the Navigator panel, in the middle we have the Query Editor, this is where we are going to write queries, and on the right side we have additions. At the bottom part, we are going to get the status of the query that has been executed. So you might wonder, why I am using MySQL Workbench for executing SQL queries, when SQL is a language that is used to communicate with the database. But as MySQL Workbench is a database management system. So MySQL Workbench allows us to use SQL queries to communicate with the database. Can't we use other RDBMS? Yes we can, but the syntax of the queries may slightly vary. First, I am going to show you how to create a database. For this query, the syntax is create database. Followed by that, we have to specify the name of the database. Here I'm using Frotela as a name for my RDBMS, so let me select this entire statement, and click on the lightning icon. I can see at the bottom, that the database, with the name Frotela, has been created. Now, let me click on Schemas, at the left side, and refresh it. So we can see that the database, with the name Frotela has been created. Next, I am going to show you, how to delete a database. And a syntax for this is, drop database are the keyword, used to delete a database. And followed by that will be the database name. So let me select this entire query, and click on the lightning icon, so we can see that the database with the name Frotela, has been deleted. So these for the few queries related to database. Now let's look at data types in SQL. So what data type basically defines, is the kind of data, that I will go, into a particular column. Now it needs to be kept in mind, that all the entries of one particular column, are of the same data type. So let's take this age column. For example, we see that the first entry is of integer type, the second entry, is also of integer type. Similarly all the entries of this age column, are of integer type. Now let's take this first name column. Here we see that all the entries, of this particular column, are of character type. Now that we wonder what exactly data types are, let's have a look at the different data types, available. Let's start with the numerical data types. So we have the big int data type which helps us, to store really big values. So you can see the range of big window here. Then we have the int data type which helps us to store reasonably, big values. After that we have the small integer type, and the range of small int is from -32,768 to 32,767. Then the tiny int, and the range is only between 0 to 255. After that we have the decimal data type, and it is used to store fractional value. So the decimal data type, takes in two arguments. First is the size of the value, that is the total number of digits. Then we need to specify the number of digits. After the decimal point, we need to create a new database again. Let's name it as Frotela. We have to use database Frotela. This is the command. Now it's time to create a table and add some records into our table. Usually we create tables inside the database and we can have multiple tables inside a single database. Before writing commands, let's take a scenario. We have released a form for recruiting members for Frotela. So we need user information like name, email, age, mobile number and address. So we store this data inside a table with the fields as column names. Now let's create a table name it as users. Here we are including column names with data type and their length. We will use create keyword to create new table into our database. Here we use varchar for username, because username will be in text format, and specifying the length as 100. Maximum length for that username value. Like same way for email varchar, of length 100, age will be as int PQAs, it's a number, and it does not need any length parameter. Mobile number as varchar with length 10. Address is varchar of length 200 because it will be long text to be entered. This is the syntax for creating a table. Now let's insert some data into our table. We will use insert keyword to insert new records into our table, insert into users. We will insert data as the same order of columns while we have created our table users. We will use quotes for varchar and for int we do not use quotes. We have successfully inserted our data. Now let's update an address column. Now user has changed his location to Vijayawada. Now we will update address of Ramachandra. We will use update keyword to update any column value. We will use set to assign a column with a new value as Vijayawada with a condition as where keyword to identify the specific row of email of Ramachandra. Now let's see the changes we have made. We will use select keyword to retrieve data from a table. If we use start will fetch all records of table. You can see now address is changed to Vijayawada. Let's see how to delete a record. We will use delete keyword to delete a row from a table with a condition whose age is 22. This is the command. Now let's see the data available in our table. So there is not data because we have deleted now. We have learned to perform CRUD operations. Creating, reading, updating and deleting data from a table. That's it for this video. If you find this video is helpful, don't forget to like and share with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for upcoming amazing content. If you have any queries please comment them in the comments section below. Team Frotela. Signing off.